This is False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who is terrified of the Baba Man, who is not addicted to his toilet seat, but is kind of intrigued by the concept of a toilet kitchen. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. How the hell are you?
Yeah. I'm doing good,
Yeah.
man. Glad to be here. Love a toilet kitchen. Just economical with your time, really, if we're boiling it down to anything. But I'm doing good, man. Glad to be back. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm no longer sick. I didn't have to unclog a toilet kitchen with some feline inside of it like Rafi did. But yes, this may be episode 182 of Fall Start, but we've already done Blink for JLN. So we're gonna make this episode the league themed because it's also June 9th, and
That's
I
right.
figured that was appropriate. I finally finished this show. So like about a month ago, and I said whenever we would do it, we would do it. We earmarked this day for glorious. Also, shout out happy birthday, Winston Wilcox.
Happy birthday, Winston Wilcox. We love to see it. Yeah, I mean, June 9th, you can write out the date numerically yourself, but pretty obvious time for the league.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool time. It's a pretty cool date, and it's a pretty cool episode. So obviously, we false started a bit. We're gonna go with our first and 15 with some Gattaca, with some Child Please from Dr. Andre Nozick.
That's right.
Playoffs, you kidding me? Ryan Day says that the Big Ten deserves four AQ spots, and I know you've been away last couple episodes. It seems as though the Big Ten's kind of on an island with this. The SEC is kind of more like, no, let's just play in for the competition. But Ryan Day wants to have four AQ spots in the Big Ten. I don't know if it's a you're doing great, sweetie, but it's a playoffs thing for sure.
It's a take, that's for sure. That's one thing I can say for sure is Ryan Day's out here spouting off takes. Not a take I agree with personally.
No.
You, if I'm the SEC, I'm using this to hold it over the Big Ten's head. I'm using this as like, hey, you are still little brother. I don't care if you won the national championship last year because this feels like little brother behavior. Like, oh, we need the college football playoff to guarantee us four spots. Whereas the SEC is like, that's fine. We'll get five teams in with two at-large bids. Like, we don't care. We'll do whatever we need to make this happen. I don't know, man. It just feels like a all of the good. I'm not saying it's all undone, but like we've seen so Brian Day build up so much goodwill over the past few months, winning a national championship, going on that run they went on the college football playoff, kind of saying the right things. Like we talked months ago about Ryan Day, like having nothing about the national championship, basically in the locker room, looking at these guys like, hey, you haven't won a damn thing, and like I was like, internally thinking to myself, am I turning the corner on Ryan Day? Am I starting to become more positive on Ryan Day? Then we get a take like this, and I'm like, maybe we're not all the way there yet. We've still got a little bit of character rehabilitation to do.
I think it's the wrong messenger for this because
Yeah,
you're talking about one of the three best head coaches in the game, indisputably at this point. Now that he's won a national title, you're at the best program in the country, which is Ohio State.
right.
I mean, could you imagine if somebody from Georgia, Alabama, or Texas were to have said this? This is not something you would think that Kirby Smart or Greg Byrne or Chris Del Conte or Steve Sarkisian would say at all. They're like, no, we want to play. We want to play for the opportunity to get in here. And I feel that like that would serve the SEC because if you kick it out to 16 teams, you're probably getting five teams in every year anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's a really good point about it being the wrong messenger. Like, if we're talking about, I mean, he would never say this because I don't think he knows the college football playoff exists, but like Kirk Ferentz or someone like saying
That's exactly who I thought you were going to say. I'm like, he doesn't know.
he has no idea. But like, if he did and he were to say something like this, like, it's a little more palatable there. Like Ohio State's going to be in the playoff most of the time, no matter what. Like it's going to take like a disastrous fall off for a team with this many resources, for a program with this many resources to not make it into a 14 or 16 team college football playoff. Hell, the 12 team included in that as well. Like it's going to take like a pretty disastrous season. So yeah, like if you're in Iowa, if you're, Bert up there at Illinois, like if you're one, like if you're kind of in that like upper second tier of the Big Ten, I think this message comes across a little bit differently, but it just feels, I don't know, something feels very off about Ryan Day saying this, partially because of the position that he's in, and partially just because, like I said, you have the SEC not really joining them in this, and this is kind of the first time we've seen the SEC and Big Ten not really have like a joint vision for what we're talking about. And granted, it is just one coach at one program saying this, so I don't want to like loop the entirety of the Big Ten into this.
Right. you're right. It's coming from essentially the lower upper or the upper middle of the Big Ten.
Coming
Or
from
that's
third base, brother. It's coming from
yeah,
third
it's
base.
like I don't know if this was something like if Kirk Ferentz would say it, it would be much more palpable if it was PJ Fleck, if it was
Yeah.
somebody Jonathan Smith somewhere in that range. But like even if it's coming from like Lincoln Riley or even if Matt Rule were to say it, it's like really you're talking about
Lincoln
one of the
Riley's the saddest person that could possibly say it. That's for sure.
he probably would. I was thinking about this with Kirk Ferentz. I bet you he still has a gateway computer,
Oh
and
yeah.
he did not get the Y2K switch. So right now his operating system believes it's the year 1925.
He's still rolling on Netscape Navigator instead of any other browser.
He is so goddamn good at Minesweeper.
Hey, aren't we all? We all had a phase where we got good at it.
We all have a phase where we got good at it, but yeah, it just seems as though more and more like the SEC coaches want everybody to compete with it, and that was
Mm,
kind of the big takeaway from the spring meetings down there in Destin, where Commissioner Greg Sankey's like, "Look, I think the coaches want this. We got to get the athletic directors on board." But athletic directors, I think what Trev Alberts at A&M, who had been at his alma mater, Nebraska, for a while, is like, look, we got to know if we're going to get punished for having that ninth game. And once we get some clarity from the playoff committee, then we'll
yeah.
do this. But the playoff committee misses its own deadlines constantly, so it's a catch 22, dude.
It's a lose-lose situation. And I mean, part of it is just a product of, I guess, moving too fast. Like I understand that the contract is up after this year, but like things are happening so quickly. Like it's going to be weird that we're going to expand the playoff again after just doing it 2 years ago. Like it just feels like things are moving too quickly. And like with that, you're gonna get bad takes. With that, you're gonna get some like hasty decisions, and you're also gonna get some decisions that are ultimately delayed. But like, my God, like it just feels like things are moving at a pace that's really hard to, it's good for us because we have something to talk about in the middle of freaking June. But like as in terms of like the sport, I'm not sure this timeline is the best way to go about it.
No, they got to have something like in stone by December. And I mean, we're
Right.
like entering the second week of June. Like,
It's it's not great. Not great at all.
no, it's not great at all, but I think it's going to end up being what a 511 model. I think that that's
Yeah.
where because I think it's well, you're an ACC guy. It seems like that would basically be something that what Jim Phillips and the rest of that league would suffice to. It's like because we could get more than just two basically in that situation.
No, 100%. I mean, we just watched the ACC get two last year in a model that's not dissimilar from a 511 model. Like it would essentially be a 5-7 model. And so like we just watched the ACC get two teams in. So like if you're Jim Phillips, you've got to believe that you can do that again. Like SMU's in a good spot. Florida State, you have to imagine will rebound at some point because they are Florida State at the end of the day, even if Mike Norvell's not the man for the job. So like if you're the ACC, like I think Brett Yormark would probably be the only commissioner that I could see having a problem with this, and that's just because of like the way the Big 12 is. Like it is such a cannibalistic league where it's really hard to get more than one team in the way like the parity feels at the top. So if I was Brett Yormark, I might have a little bit of problem with that, but at the same time, like your hope, if you're optimistic and like if you're an AD, you kind of have to look at this optimistically, especially an AD of the big, or sorry, a commissioner, a conference commissioner or an AD, but in the Big 12 or the ACC, like you have to be looking at this like we've talked about it. You don't have the leverage in this. You kind of have to, kind of eat some S every now and then. And like this is kind of that, but like the optimistic view in the sell job you can be like is like, hey man, we had three teams that were basically ranked in the top 16 last year. So there's no reason to think that in a 511 model we can't possibly get three teams in here.
Look, if you're a Power Four league, your runner-up should finish in the top 16. It just basically like that's it should be built in that favor. And
Yeah.
Iowa State or BYU probably, I think BYU would have gotten in, but they would have put Iowa State in there because they're like, oh, we actually have to care for this. But
Right.
this is instead of eating some mess, take some of that, put on a sandwich and just go. But anyway, like I think the group of five teams would be in favor of this too, because like there's a chance that like Boise State has a tremendous year like it did last year,
Yeah.
where it's well above 16. And then down at 16 range, you're looking at what would be Tulane or Army, which we've seen that they can play up to that level
Hmm.
occasionally, maybe not consistently.
No, 100%. And I mean, I'm in favor of the 511 model. Like I think that the previous iterations of what we're talking about, like they're just a little convoluted. And if we're not doing like we're already moving away from the automatic buys for conference champions, and if we're doing that, then I'm totally fine with a 5-11 model because I think it makes the most sense. Like if you truly want to still make conference championship games matter, which year five is going to do that consistently, and you also want to get the best teams into the field, then this is the way to do it. And it goes back to you kind of alluded to it just there, but like with talking about BYU and Iowa State and how the rankings would have changed, this still makes the committee like have to do their job a little bit harder than they have in the past.
100%. And then you go back to like what it was under the four team model, like the first 10 years of this. They got the four teams right pretty much every year. I would say every year. The last year of it was just a complete cluster because Florida State and Georgia were good enough to get in, and they just couldn't get in.
Right. I mean, it things got weird in the last year, and it definitely felt like the right way to usher out the 14 playoff because like we entered an era where things were going to get messy.
It is messy and it is decided. Yes,
That's
we're going to move on to our next topic here with some four for four with some, I guess, definitely maybe in Paul Finch. Haven't done these in a while, but if you want to check this out on fanside.com, I wrote a bunch of these. Contributor Austin Bundy wrote one. Basically, power rankings of the Power Four conferences heading into the summer. So we'll look at these and just kind of be like, huh, this may be a definitely maybe a team that definitely maybe might be good in each league, and Paul Finch, which they may be wearing the satin kimonos, so they're basically a sheep in wolf's clothing.
100%.
Yes. Let's start with the ACC. So I ran this one by you. So and I'll rattle off the 17 teams and then we'll kind of go through this direction. One, Clemson, two, Miami, three, SMU, four, Louisville, five, Georgia Tech, six, Duke, seven, Pitt, eight, Boston College, nine, Syracuse, 10, North Carolina, 11, North Carolina State, 12, Virginia, 13, Virginia Tech, 14, Cal, 15, Florida State, 16, Wake Forest, and 17, Stanford. I know we felt pretty good about that, but like if we're looking further ahead, what do you think? Who fits what label for you?
So when I'm looking at like definitely maybe, first of all, like I think that Duke is a team that I think we need to start talking a little bit more about. Like you brought in Darian Mensah, who had a really impressive I believe it was his freshman season, if I'm not mistaken, at Tulane. And so you not only have him, coming off of that season, but you have him for 2 more years. So like something you can build the program around. We both have a lot of faith in Manny Diaz, and like we know with Manny Diaz that Duke defense is going to maintain what it was last year. Like you go from Mike Elko to Manny Diaz, there's a good chance your defense is probably going to be good for a few years. So, like, you have that going on. You potentially upgrade the offense with Mensa, which was the issue for Duke. Duke played a lot of ugly ass football games last year. But, like, with the upgrade at quarterback, like, I really think that Duke could be kind of like the problem child in the ACC. And in a good way. I say that very favorably. Like, they could cause a lot of issues for teams.
Yeah, they're the one that we're not talking about potentially getting to Charlotte that could. I said beforehand, this may be this year's version of SMU.
Mhm.
They're the obvious one. I'll throw an extreme one out there that I think might make you mad or blow your mind. Florida State is maybe they're going to be a lot better than like the 15th best team in the ACC.
It's so when you sent me these rankings to look over, like the one thing I like wanted to quibble with was Florida State at 15, but I looked at it and I was like, I mean, I can't really argue with that because they're coming off a 2-win season. So like
Yeah.
things aren't in the best spot. So like if we're talking about summer power rankings, like yes, the team is improved, but I'm not sure it's like that dramatically improved. So like I didn't really have any like argument to quibble with that or move them around, but like I still think Mike Norvell's a good coach. I still think Thomas Castellanos is a good quarterback. So like when you combine everything, like Gus Malzahn, for all of his faults, he knows how to get an offense that can win 6 to 7 games. Like this feels like I don't think Florida State is necessarily going to be in contention for the ACC championship game, but I do think that they're going like I feel like pretty confident they're going to make a bowl game, which when you have them at 15th in the conference, that's well overperforming that.
Yeah, it's the combination of a proven head coach, an overqualified offensive coordinator, and a quarterback. And what Castellanos, who started like 3 or 4 years, so he's been at
Mhm.
BC for once. I think he played a little bit at UCF. That's where he knew Gus Malzahn. But like, it's one of those things where I was doing this one, like, am I really going to put the 15? I'm like, of course I am. But I
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how high up they could be. Maybe they switch spots with Boston College.
I mean, if they switch spots with North Carolina by the end of the season, it wouldn't surprise me. Like if North Carolina was the 15th best team in the SEC and Florida State was the 10th best team, it wouldn't surprise me in the least.
100%. So who might be getting some Paul Finch here? Who's showing up there waiting for Janine to show up and his tantric stuff is not working.
So you're gonna hate this. You're gonna hate this, but Louisville is kind of who I'm earmarking for that. I look at Louisville. And I still have a ton of respect for Jeff Brom. I still have a ton of respect for, like, I think Miller Moss is a nice fit in that system. But you also lost a lot on the defense, and the defense wasn't that damn good to begin with. And I really worry about what that might look like. And then the other thing is, you look back at Jeff Brom at Purdue back in the day, and consistency wasn't exactly his strong point. Like he kept the floor high enough to like keep his job and like keep Purdue boosters happy, but it wasn't necessarily like they were just winning 9 games a year, which is kind of the precedent that he set through his first 2 years at Louisville. So when you can or the first few years at Louisville. So like when you start to combine all of that, like I do wonder if we might be gassing up Louisville just slightly.
I think that's totally fair. Again, that's probably the most likely one. That's the one I probably would have gone with. But to throw another one out there, we might be a little high in Miami. I think because
Yeah.
it could go either way so quickly. Carson Beck, I think, will be fine. They lost a lot of talent, but they've recruited well. Shannon Dawson's a good offensive mind. Do we trust Mario Cristobal? The answer is no. And honestly, like ever since the end of like the Larry Coker era, has Miami been good back-to-back years?
Right, 100%. And like let's also not forget like I'm not trying to bring Miami down because of this, but like you were disappointing last year based on what you should have been. Like that should have been a team that was in the college football playoff, and you just crapped your pants twice in games that you shouldn't have. The defense, like, would it surprise you at all if Miami is honestly very similar to what we saw from LSU a year ago? Because we watched LSU with Jaden Daniels not have a defense worth its salt at all and kind of cost them. So they go out and they make changes on defense, but not enough changes. And so like you come out there and the defense is better, but not better enough. And like it still ends up costing you games because when you look at Miami, the thing with LSU is the offense really didn't take that much of a step back going from Jaden Daniels to Garrett Nussmeier because Brian Kelly's a hell of an offensive coach and Garrett Nussmeier's a hell of a quarterback. Carson Beck, like the drop off from Cam Ward and what Cam Ward's able to do, especially with questions that I still have about what Carson Beck looks like post elbow surgery, like there's a chance the offense is a little bit worse and that like the defensive improvements that are made aren't quite as substantial or impactful. And like we could be looking at a 9-3, 10-2 Miami team, which frankly would be another disappointment.
Yeah, thinking like they could be 9-3 and not get to Charlotte. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like I think the
Yeah,
floor for them is like 8-4. Like they
yeah,
should win at
agreed.
least eight
They're
games.
they're
But
way too damn talented to not be.
okay, so the candidates entering the summer for this the definitely maybe out of the ACC are Duke and Florida State. The
Mhm.
candidates for the Satin Kimono are Louisville and Miami.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move on to the Big Ten. TIN 10.
TIN 10, baby.
All right, I'm gonna rattle off the 18 teams on here. I've got Ohio State at 1, Penn State at 2, Oregon at 3, Indiana at 4, Illinois at 5, Michigan at 6, Iowa at 7, Nebraska at 8, USC at 9, Minnesota 10, Washington 11, Rutgers 12, UCLA 13, Michigan State 14, Wisconsin 15, Northwestern 16, Maryland 17, Purdue 18. Sad.
Tough for the Boilermakers out there, man.
All right. Who is your candidate right now for the definitely maybe?
I'm going a little bit further down the board than I did in the ACC. I like Michigan State, man. Like I'm still an Aiden Childs believer. Like it was not perfect last year. In fact, it was quite erratic. And but man, like the flashes of when he was good, they're pretty damn good and pretty damn impressive. And look like a quarterback who can do a lot of really good things for a program like Michigan State. We're still big believers in Jonathan Smith. We know that they have resources. They're not resourced the way that Michigan or Ohio State or, the top level programs are, but they're in that second tier firmly. And so when you combine a good coach who we have a belief in and someone who knows how to develop talent, a quarterback who has tremendous upside, like I think Michigan State, like I don't think they're a threat to win the Big Ten, but if they were fifth in the conference, it wouldn't surprise me too much.
This is kind of how I felt about Indiana a year
Yeah.
ago. So they checked that box. Like, this is a team that can win 8 games. They may do much better than that because Jonathan Smith's a great offensive mind, good head coach, and Aiden Childs is immensely talented. So I actually have somebody different. I didn't have Michigan State.
Nice.
I'm gonna go with the Washington Huskies.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Jed Fish is a great head coach.
Yeah.
They probably have a little more talent. I think the transition from him taking over for Kalen DeBoer is a little bit better than what happened with Jonathan Smith taking over at Michigan State from Mel Tucker and I guess Harlan Barnett in the interim. So
That's right.
Demond Williams Jr. maybe not as well known as Zayden Childs, but I don't think Washington lost a game at Husky Stadium a year ago. They lost in Seattle down the road to Wazoo at Lumen Field, but like I think Washington like may be better equipped to handle travel more so than the other teams in the Big Ten coming over because the travel is always brutal in the state of Washington for everybody. We've seen how much that impacts the Seahawks and the Mariners.
Mhm.
Portland Trailblazers have had issues with that, and their Vancouver Canucks, although they have some stuff, I guess, with like the NHL teams there in Alberta. But yeah,
Right. No, 100%. And like we mentioned it before, but like and you mentioned it just now, but I just want to reiterate, Jed Fish is a damn good coach. Jed Fish had Arizona competing at the top of the Pac-12. Like, and we saw what happened when Jed Fish left Arizona. Like, it didn't turn out very well for Brett Brennan right now.
no.
And so, like, you look at those factors, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I have a vague memory. Doesn't Washington have one of the easier schedules in the Big Ten this year?
I believe so. I believe it's certainly navigable. It's the sort of thing where it's like I don't know if they have as much talent as everybody else in the league, but like they could certainly be up there in the top six. Like they could switch spots with Michigan, and I wouldn't really be that stunned by it.
No, 100%. And like that's a really good call by you because I think Michigan kind of or sorry, you just said Michigan, I was in my head. Washington kind of falls into the same category as Duke in the ACC, honestly, just a little bit lower in the current power rankings.
Right on, right on. So who might be wearing the satin committo in the Big Ten for you?
I I struggled with this one, but I'm gonna go with Michigan. And
Hmm.
like I'm at war with myself with this because I'm a believer in Bryce Underwood. I believe that it is going to work out and be very profitable for Michigan in the long run. Just not sure it's going to be the 2025 season. And after last year, which was obviously a disappointment coming off the national championship, you get an offseason where you bring in a Bryce Underwood. You have a lot of excitement, like kind of stirring in the program for, kind of the bounce back to national relevance. It might not happen immediately. And that's not even like like to disparage Sharon Moore. Like the jury is still out for sure on like what Harbaugh's replacement actually looks like long term for the Michigan Wolverines. But at the same time, I do think that you lost so much talent and you also just lost more talent. Like your defense is probably going to be notably worse when you lose guys like Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, all the guys that they lost on that side of the ball. So like I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but it could be a step back. And like if Bryce Underwood doesn't arrive immediately, then there's a really good chance that Michigan is probably more in the mid tier like they were last year.
Yeah, I think the talent's there for them to be in the top third of the league, but like that's why I have them behind Indiana and Illinois. I think that those are just
Yeah.
more well-run operations. I also think the fact that former President Santa Ono left to try to go to Florida and they said no, probably the conservatism or whatnot, but like I think that he was covering up a lot of bad stuff in the
Oh
athletic
yeah.
department. So like, oh, Ward Manuel, like we'll talk about ADs here later. That guy's got a tough job. I don't know if he's good at it, but he's got a tough job.
He works hard. Don't know if he works well.
No. So the other one, again, the Big Ten was the hardest one for me to pick. I ended up going with Nebraska.
Mhm.
And the reason why is like this is supposed to be the Matt Rule pop year. I looked at their schedule. This is a team that should go 9-3.
Mhm.
And 9-3 Nebraska is different than going what 11-1 at Baylor.
Right.
It's more difficult. But like you're asking Dylan Raiola to take a step up, which I think he can do. I because Daniel Holgerson's really good as an
Yeah.
offensive mind. I think the big thing is just like the schedule is so favorable for Nebraska, and there's just so much like, okay, now's the time to do it. When has Nebraska been a step up program since we were like in elementary school?
Yeah, I mean, like in our like true like diehard college football analysts like minds, like we've never seen Nebraska actually like take advantage of a situation like this. Like, and I understand like the situation is currently different. Like you have a five-star in Dylan Raiola, you have Matt Rule, who is a proven college football head coach. Like there are a lot of factors going in your favor right now, and like to Matt Rule, we can still like we still make our jokes and take pot shots at Nebraska, but like from where Scott Frost had this program, it is in a substantially better spot now with Matt Rule. Like there's no denying that, and they are trending in the right direction. But again, I need to see it before I'm like all in and believing in it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the NIL investment from Warren Buffett and Ndamukong Suh just like start to like I think outspend anybody.
There we go. There we go.
All right, so the Big Ten, the candidates for the definitely maybe are Michigan State and Washington. The candidates for the Satin Komodo are Michigan and Nebraska. There we
Yes,
go.
sir.
The coffee's kind of working, but not really.
It's here. I've got a coffee and a Celsius here. If that tells you any idea, if it gives you any idea where my mental state's at.
I respect that here, and we're gonna look at the Big 12. Contributor Austin Bundy wrote this, and he's an Arizona State alum, so like that's his team. But just kind of seeing like again, these rankings are not from me, so they're kind of all over the place. But we'll see what happens. So at Arizona State, he's got them at one, two Kansas State, three BYU, four Texas Tech, five Iowa State, six Baylor, seven TCU, eight Utah, nine Kansas, 10 Colorado, 11 Cincinnati, 12 Houston, 13 West Virginia, 14 Arizona, 15 Oklahoma State, 16 UCF. I don't know, it's just it's very he's tasked with a very difficult job of power ranking the Big 12. So
You're
God
not
bless
kidding.
Austin.
You're not kidding, man. It's probably the most difficult job of these rankings, just because like it goes to the point we talk about with the Big 12 all the time. Like there's just a group of teams that you could put in any order and no one can really get mad.
Okay, so who do you got for who do you got for the definitely maybe right now? Who are you getting high on with this team?
Where were you or we were getting high on TCU, man? Because like
Yeah,
I'm looking
that's
at TCU. I like Josh Hoover at quarterback. Like I think he's got something. I don't know what the something is, but he's got something. But then you also look at like TCU came into last season with not a whole hell of a lot of expectations. They came into last season with honestly questions about Sonny Dykes and whether he could get this done. And they proceeded to win six of their last seven games. They got better as the season went on. Like it was a pretty rough start. And they won six of the last seven. Their only loss was at Baylor in a close one, which that's a rivalry game. That game's always close, and it was by 3 points. Like it was what that
right.
rivalry game always ends up being. So like you look at what they were able to do, man. I just think that there's something there with TCU, and like I still do believe in Sonny Dykes as a head coach. Like I just think that appearing in the national championship game probably an aberration, but TCU being a consistent winner, I don't think that's an aberration under Sonny Dykes.
No, he's always had good quarterback play. I mean, dating back to Cal when he had Jared Goff,
Yeah,
like this is TCU was my pick, and they're riding. I think they're tied with Ohio State, Illinois, Marshall, and somebody else for the longest winning streak in college football at 4 games. So
yes,
yeah, they're
sir.
but yeah, I could see TCU. I don't know if they'll get to Arlington, but they could win like 9 games and have a say in who gets there.
100%. Yeah, they seem like the team that's gonna like be involved in a tiebreaker, get the wrong end of it. Like that's kind of what they say. And like it's the Big 12. We know tiebreakers are gonna get involved at some point.
Big 12, as in the 12 tiebreakers.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
I love that one. I'm gonna go further down the board for mine. I'm gonna go with Houston at 12.
I like that. I like that a
Uh,
lot.
well, it's because Willie Fritz is a good head coach. I mean, he's in his 60s. He doesn't leave Tulane to go to Houston outside of money from Tillman Fertitta, but like you go there to help Houston get back to what it was in the Southwest days. You know, when you had like the Andre Wares, the David Klingler era under I think Pardee, Bud Pardee was their coach. Maybe I'm blanking on his name. We're too
That
young.
sounds right.
Yes, and then you get Connor Wegman to come in from A&M. I think that this is gonna. I have a feeling that Connor Wegman at Houston is going to be like Kyle McCord at Syracuse. It's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
No, 100. I like that comp a lot because I mean Connor Wegman's issues were never talent. It was Jimbo Fisher handed him the telephone book and asked him to memorize it as a playbook. And then after that, like he also couldn't stay healthy. But now like I think he's a prime change of scenery guy, and I think it's gonna be good for him. And like I trust Willie Fritz with him. So that's a really good call with Houston there.
I got Jimbo Fisher coming up a little bit later, so that's how
Hell
we got there.
yeah.
Who's going to wear the satin kimono in the Big 12 for you?
Yeah, Austin's rankings are doing some heavy lifting to help me with this one, but I'm looking at Kansas State, man. I'm not sure I've seen it with Avery Johnson yet. Like, obviously a tremendous athlete and like talented football player, but in terms of being a winning quarterback, I'm not sure it's quite all the way there for me just yet. Like, I think Chris Kleiman's a great coach. Like, there's no doubt about that. and he's proven that. And like, I don't think there's no danger of Kansas State bottoming out as long as he is in charge of that program. I truly believe that. But if you're having them like listed and like they, even if you don't have them as second in your own Big 12 power rankings, they're still one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the Big 12 this coming into the season, and or considered that way. And I think there's a chance that a Baylor, a Texas Tech, or even a TCU, or like if Houston comes out, like I think there's a world where Kansas State just isn't at that level because I look at Arizona State, they clearly leveled up going into last year. And I don't think they're dropping off that much from what we're like from the moves that they made in the transfer portal. Iowa State, much of the same. Like I think Iowa State is going to be in the mix. BYU, they have like there's a lot of good things happening in that program. Texas Tech looks like they have leveled up again. So like if they take that leap, whereas Kansas State, they kind of look to me like they're still just kind of like level. And then like when you're just level, that works for a while, but at a certain point you're going to get jumped. And I think Kansas State might be in danger of that this year.
We'll know a lot after a Farmageddon in Dublin, the
Yeah.
Potato Bowl, I guess,
That's right. Potato and rye. That's what they're farming in Dublin, baby.
So we were at I was at an event yesterday with the Arizona State podcast, and a couple of fellow UNC Wilmington alums. So
Oh, hell yeah.
and we were trying to think of what's the more politically correct term for an Irish car bomb, and I said, let's just call it an Irish goodbye.
There we go. Love that.
Yeah, it's better for that. But I'm right there with you. Avery Johnson is just so much unknown.
Mhm.
So, but I get to pick somebody else. I'm gonna go with BYU.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's got to do with Jake Retz's last legal situation. I haven't
Yeah,
really touched
definitely
about
fair. Definitely
haven't
fair.
haven't touched about it a lot on the program thus far, but you're looking at BYU in that upper crust with Arizona State, Kansas, Texas Tech, Baylor, Iowa State. And I think other teams just have more momentum going forward. Maybe they
Mhm.
get pulled back. That's really all I've got there for BYU.
Well, I mean, like out like first off, if Retzlaff isn't playing, like this team is substantially
Yeah.
worse. Like that, I mean, let's just call it what it is with that. But on top of that, like I think we saw at the end of the season a little bit of a regression to the
Yeah.
mean when it came to BYU, and like there's a really good chance that the first 9 games of the season or so they were just overperforming a little bit and getting the right bounces of the ball, frankly. And that like to be clear, we have a lot of respect for the BYU program, even if I did leave them out of the rankings one time. Again, sorry for everyone. But like we do have a lot of respect for BYU as a program. I don't think they're gonna like be a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. But again, it kind of goes into the same thing with Kansas that I was saying about Kansas State. Like there are teams in this conference that have absolutely and programs that have absolutely leveled up over the past couple years. And I'm not sure BYU has necessarily leveled up to the magnitude that people think coming off of last year.
100%. So, like, you talk about it like they beat SMU head to head early and then they lost Arizona State late. So, that's kind of like a good barometer of how the season ultimately went. So, in the Big 12, our definitely maybes are TCU and Houston, and our satin kimonos are Kansas State and BYU.
Love it.
Brain's just spinning.
Oh yeah, baby.
And let's move on to my conference. Let's move on to the SEC here. So, 1 to 16. One, I've got Georgia, two, Texas, three, LSU, four, Alabama, five, South Carolina, six, Florida, seven, Ole Miss, eight, Texas A&M, nine, Oklahoma, 10, Tennessee, 11, Missouri, 12, Vanderbilt, 13, Auburn, 14, Arkansas, 15, Kentucky, and 16, Mississippi State. Who do you got for definitely maybe?
I mean, you put Auburn too low for me to not say Auburn as a definitely maybe team, man. I don't know how I ended up like this college football season is going to be weird for me, Bueller, because I've put myself in a lot of positions where I believe in a lot of teams that I don't frankly care for that much. Auburn being one of them, South Carolina being another, Clemson being another. It's going to be a very weird season, especially because my expectations for North Carolina at this point could not possibly be lower. So we come into the season and I'm in a bad spot, but I just look at Auburn and I think I don't think Jackson Arnold is going to be like a godsend, a future first round pick or anything like that. Like I'm not like putting too many expectations on him, but he's better than Peyton Thorne. I feel
Right.
very confident that he is better than Peyton Thorne. And when you look at the way Hugh Freeze and this staff have recruited over the past couple years, it was very clearly like everyone criticized them for not going and upgrading over Peyton Thorne going into last year. And to me, it felt like it was all part of the plan. It was one of the reasons when we had hot seat discussions about Hugh Freeze, I was like, man, I don't think they let him operate in the way that he has with this program with recruiting at a high level, but not upgrading the quarterback if they're not willing to see that vision out. And I think the vision is going to start coming to like materializing this season. It may not mean an SEC championship or anything like that, but if this team wins 8, 9 games, that is an upgrade from where we've been. And I do think and obviously better than the 13th best team in the SEC.
Yeah, it was hard slotting them in. I put Vanderbilt ahead of them because Diego Pavia just owns
Yeah. I mean,
Hugh
like,
Freeze's
if
soul.
Auburn finishes the 16, who's to say that Vanderbilt doesn't finish as the fifth best team?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Auburn, like I'm not quite there with you. I think there's like a space. Like I think I just like Florida more than them, but
Yeah,
it's the same sort of thing. The team that I'm going to go with is Ole Miss
yeah, 100%.
because I think right now we're downgrading them based on saying that like, oh, that last year was the year that everything was supposed to happen for the Rebels, and it did. They went 9-3. But if they're like the seventh best team in the SEC right now, in my eyes, I'm looking at this. I'm like, they're still going to probably win about 9 or 10 games because that's what they do.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're going to beat Georgia and Athens, but like you can win your other games. I mean, you could win Magnolia, you could win at Columbia versus
Hmm.
South Carolina. There will be opportunities to be had. I don't think you're going to lose to like Florida again or something like
Right.
that, but I just think Austin Simmons could be really good, and I think just Lane Kiffin just has a really good feel for the pulse of this team. So I think that they could be the fifth best team in the SEC, is what I'm getting at.
No, that was my second option as well because I've been thinking a lot about LSU while I was on vacation or about Ole Miss, excuse me, while on vacation because of what we talked about in one of the episodes before I, departed for a little while was the SV plus rankings and like looking at the returning production. Like we talked about that last year being their, one opportunity. They're still pretty high on the returning production rankings, man. And they're also still like recruiting at a pretty decent level for what Ole Miss is. And then on top of that, you have Lane Kiffin, who I still believe in as a head coach. Do I think he's going to win a national championship? I'm becoming more dubious by the year. But like in terms of delivering quality results, yeah, he absolutely does that every single time he's on the sidelines. And like there's no reason to think that Ole Miss isn't going to be able to do that again.
He's not a serious groundhog. He's just a groundhog, and
That's
this is
right.
false start. So who do you think's got the sat to come out of the SEC?
I am I'm getting a little bit worried about the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Okay.
And when I say I'm getting a little bit worried, I've been worried. And there was a report that I saw on Twitter, and it wasn't even a report. It was someone kind of just like firing off in the replies. But we came out of the spring, and it kind of looks like Ty Simpson might be the favorite to win the job. And it was in response to I believe it was On3 posted a graphic for the like top quarterbacks attending the Manning Passing Academy,
Okay.
and they didn't list Kevin Jennings, but they listed Ty Simpson. And some SEC insider, and I apologize for not attributing this because I can't remember, mentioned that Alabama tried to go really hard to get Kevin Jennings and to replace Ty Simpson, basically as the starter and like be the kind of Jalen Milroe fill in based on what we saw last year with the mobile quarterback offense. Kevin Jennings would obviously fit into that. They were unable to do that. But that tells me that Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb are not particularly confident in this quarterback room right now. And based on what we saw last year, when Jalen Milroe was electric at times and really disappointing at others, if this offensive minded staff isn't necessarily like confident in what they have at quarterback, that worries me a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I was looking this up with Kevin Jennings. So he's from Dallas. Yeah, good luck pulling him out of SMU.
Yeah, and also SMU has more money than God. Like truly. Like it's oil money, it's a ton of big boosters. Like, yeah, you're not pulling someone from SMU if they really want to keep them.
Yeah, the I'm sure the Jim Irsay Trust will just keep him going forever.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I like the Alabama thing there too. And this might break your heart. I'm gonna go to South Carolina.
It's fair. I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Because I was doing this and I initially had them at 3, and I'm like looking at other people like, where's the line of demarcation here? And some people
Yeah.
have them like down at like 9. And I've been saying like we've been gassing them up all year. They may be the candidate for this in the end, but just because we just love Lenore Sellers so much.
Yeah.
Um, I think what we're missing, probably more than anything, well, it's twofold. One, they're not going to catch anybody by surprise anymore.
Yeah.
And I think they lost so much talent on defense in the NFL draft. yes, they've got people like Dylan Stewart on that side of the ball. We know Clayton White's a great defensive mind and
Yeah.
everything like that, but there will be a period of adjustment. And that's kind of what maybe they're not quite a playoff team, but I gotta keep putting them in there because it feels good.
Yeah, no, like I'm still gonna be high on South Carolina, and like I'm willing to stick my neck out there, but like I do so knowing the risk. Like I do so knowing that a machete could come down when I'm sticking my neck out there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing this like blind faith with like no possibility of repercussions or consequences in a negative sense for me. Like I like South Carolina. I'm bought in, but like it could work out very poorly for me. I've been wrong plenty of times.
And that's totally fair. So in the SEC, our definitely maybes are Auburn and Ole Miss, and then our satin kimonos are Alabama and South Carolina. I don't know if I can remember the other leagues right now because my brain's not working good, but
I
we
get
did
it,
do it,
brother. I get
you
it.
know. And I really only got one thing to say to that. That would be I can't live in a house where I'm not respected as a fantasy football player.
That's
Kevin
right.
MacArthur with some TIN 10. We've been thinking about this for a while. Just who are the 10 best athletic directors in FBS? I had a very hard time with this, but I did do it. So
I
I
also did it, and I also had a very hard time with it. Like I tried to. I mean, this is a college football podcast. I definitely weighed college football more heavily than other sports, but like I also looked like for some like for tiebreakers, I'm looking like okay, who's like really investing in the basketball program as well? You know, who's got like the entire athletic department kind of humming right now? Like college football definitely first, and as it is for any athletic director, like at most programs, it's hey, is the football team winning? Great, your job is safe. Like that's really what it boils down to because it is such a revenue driver. But you know, when you're breaking ties and like you're really splitting hairs between a lot of these guys, like and I think the one thing that it also really highlighted is how different all of these damn jobs are. You know what I mean?
and I'm curious because like our list is probably not going to be the same. I would venture to say our top 10 probably has about five or six of the same names. I would just
Yeah.
guess. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I started out with 18 names and I got it down to 10. That's how
There we go.
so
I
there
still
may be
have 11 names on the list because I couldn't, I had some issues. So here we are.
okay, at 10 for me, I've got Miami athletic director Dan Radakovich.
Okay. Okay.
It's not just because I went to high school with his son, and
Yeah.
my sister did too. But he was great at Georgia Tech. He was great at Clemson. He's back at his alma mater, where I think he got his master's at Miami. I think since he's gone there, he's really empowered all the programs. I know the basketball program, with Jim Larrañaga retiring, has been challenging. Baseball programs usually pretty good. Football programs kind of humming at all cylinders. I just kind of feel like he's just been doing this for so long, knows the ACC so well. I think that was just kind of a deciding factor for me. I think that like he'll get buy-in for maybe other people couldn't necessarily get that with Miami. So that's why I have him at 10.
I would have had him at like 12, 13, but like definitely a lot of respect to the job he's done at Miami. I think that the faults of Miami, particularly when it comes to football, don't come down from the AD. Like it's the investment in the program is certainly there.
Who did you have at 10? You have to pick one now.
I do have to pick one, and I think I have it settled. But at 10, I have Kirby Hocutt, the Texas Tech athletic director. And
Yes.
you look at the basketball program, it's been humming despite some real hardships. You know, like the Texas Tech basketball program has experienced a bit of turnover, and they've still maintained to be like one of the best college basketball programs in the country. And then you look at the football program, like it takes a lot of faith from an AD to look at someone like Joey McGuire and be like, you're the right guy for this program. And then like go through some hardships and some lesser than seasons and be like, I still see the vision. I still think things are going to work out. And now like we just talked about it. They're considered one of the favorites in the Big 12. We don't think they're wearing the satin kimono. Like we think Texas Tech is for real. And like that's a testament to Hoka because that's not an easy job in Lubbock.
He was on my list. He's one of the first eight out for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been there for a long time. He's been the college football playoff committee chair as well.
Mhm.
I just wish the football program won a little bit more. Basketball program is really good. So like I probably would say he would have been like 14 or 15 for me, but he was certainly among the list.
Yeah, I mean, and I to be just to for posterity, I was splitting hairs between him and Graham Rossini at Arizona State because
Mhm.
he was hired before last season, and we saw like the elevation that Arizona State made athletically in doing that. I gave it to Hocutt because of tenure, truly. And like if Rossini had been there, been at Arizona State a little bit longer and continued the success that he's shown early on in his tenure, then he probably gets the edge over Hocutt.
I think that's fair. So at 9, I've got Duke AD Nina King. I think
Ooh,
she's done a really good job. Football program's been really stable. I don't know how long she's been there, but like to kind of go from like David Cutcliffe to Mike Elko to Manny Diaz, that's
yeah.
tough. Baseball program, I think they're going to Omaha or the Armis or the Super Regionals. They're pretty good.
They play Murray State in the final super regional game on Monday night.
So yeah, they're playing tonight. Then obviously the basketball program transitioning from Coach K to John Shire, not really skipping a beat. And obviously women's program has been strong too. Lacrosse, I think
Mhm.
with the academic restrictions, very hard job, but she's got a tremendous pulse on the program. Again, football program, I wish it won more, but I think she does a great job.
She does. I did not have her anywhere on my list, but that's just me being a hater because
That's fine.
go Hills, baby.
All right. Who do you have at 9?
At nine, I have Scott Woodward at LSU, and that's probably someone you don't have on your list, and that's completely
No.
fair. And then I get that. I do think that when you like, I tried to like remove myself from like some personal biases, like one of those biases being, is Brian Kelly a good coach? We don't really know, but in terms of accomplishments at Notre Dame, in terms of big name value, you went out and you got a big fish, and like that matters to me. And then like the results haven't necessarily been what you would want them to be if you're the LSU Tigers, but at the same time, it's kind of in the same vein as Miami. I don't think that's necessarily a Scott Woodward thing. Like the investment in this football program, the investment in every athletics, like you talked about Duke's college baseball team potentially going to Omaha. LSU punched their ticket to Omaha last night. The baseball program is humming. The basketball program probably should be better. Like I think that like they probably wish that Will Wade wasn't as shady as he is because I think Will Wade's a
Yeah.
good basketball coach. But like, I do think Scott Woodward has navigated a lot of stuff. Like, he had to navigate the Will Wade situation. He had to navigate, okay, we have Coach O who won us a national championship, but he's also not a very good football coach at this point in his career. So,
Right.
like, there's been a lot to navigate. And I think they've done a good job of maintaining national relevance throughout that.
Yeah, that's why I don't have him on my list. Just too chaotic for me. But
Yeah, I
like,
get it.
he's the Dave Kingman of athletic directors, just big Kong swing
Oh,
out.
yeah, 100%, man.
All right, at number 8, I've got Notre Dame AD Pete Bavacqua.
Okay, nice.
I just kind of feel like he's come in there replacing a very popular Jack Swarbrick would have been like 2 or 3 if he was still there. He's just
Yeah.
that good, like basically acting as a conference commissioner, but at Notre Dame. I just think coming in there with the background, like the Golf Channel, MLB, and stuff like that, being a Notre Dame alum, really empowering Marcus Freeman. I mean, there's other sports, like we'll see what happens, but I just kind of feel like he's come in here, maybe more so than what the AD that I'm blanking on from Arizona State. It's like that, but a little bit better. That's what I've got.
Rossini at Arizona State, and I have Pete Bavacqua on my list just a little bit higher. So we'll get there.
Okay. Who do you have at 8 then?
At eight, I got your boy Josh Brooks, man,
Yeah.
and like Josh Brooks has done a phenomenal job. This is not having him at eight isn't a slight on Josh Brooks. It very much comes down to something I'm going to talk about with someone else very shortly on this list, but like Georgia at this point is very much a self-sustaining machine when you have Kirby
Yeah.
Smart running the program. So like I don't think Josh Brooks has the most difficult job in the world right now. Like being an AD is a difficult job in and of itself, but in the grand scheme of what ADs have more difficult jobs, I'm not sure Josh Brooks has like the most difficult time in what he's trying to do. The baseball team was humming, the basketball team improving, we'll say that.
May the eternity. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah. Like they're not great, but they are like not finishing in the cellar of the SEC, which is an improvement. And then you have Kirby Smart running the football program, which takes a lot off your plate if you're Josh Brooks. So like I look at him and he's doing a phenomenal job, but I also look at that job and think, how would someone like, how would he perform at a job that's a little bit more taxing for him?
I've got him a little bit higher, but I get there. You're basically saying that, like, yeah, Greg McGarity basically got that thing going after Damon Evans, and it's
Yeah.
kind of self-sustaining. But I respect that. But yeah, he's on my list coming up here. At number 7, I've got your guy, Bubba Cunningham.
Jesus. I do not have him on my list, and it's entirely about Bill Belichick, and I just can't get over it.
That's fair, but I think that like he's the guy that like the people in the ACC listen to. Obviously, Belichick,
Yeah.
that's a big swing. You owed it to yourself there. He got Mac Brown back, I believe, as well. Obviously, navigating the end of Roy Williams with Hubert Davis. Obviously, the baseball program is phenomenal. Big state school. there's a lot of really good athletic directors there in the state of North Carolina. So I'm like, you know what? I feel like the longevity thing there, also named Bubby Cunningham, is just pretty badass.
I'm so disenchanted with North Carolina athletics right now. And like, I enjoyed watching the baseball team. Probably should have gotten out of your super regional against Arizona, but neither here nor there. And like I'm questioning the Bill Belichick hire more and more by the day. And then I also think that Hubert Davis should not be the head coach of the basketball program anymore. So like I have some criticisms of Bubba Cunningham right now. If you asked me probably 6 months ago, I probably would have had him in these rankings, but here I am. And
So who's
I'm
your t
nothing if not an emotional fan, Bueller.
so let's get a what Rasheed Wallace coach the Heels. Let's do
Hell yeah. I'm all in, all in.
it. Yeah, let's do it.
The jail hills, let's go.
Jail Heels. All right, who do you have at seven?
At seven, and like I mentioned, very much in the same vein as Josh Brooks, I have Ross Bjork at Ohio State. Obviously, tenure is a factor there. Like he hasn't been there that long, but Ross Bjork knows that at a program, whether it's Texas A&M or whether it's Ohio State, the biggest thing you can do is get investment. And he's gotten investment time and time again. Ohio State spent a ass load of money on their roster last year to win a national championship, and it paid off. But again, you're the athletic director at Ohio State, man. There are a lot more harder jobs in college football and college sports than being the athletic director at Ohio State. But I do think that he's doing a better job than Gene Smith did, and I think that matters.
Don't have Ross Burke anywhere. I think everywhere he goes, he's just slimy. It's just a bunch of just,
Oh,
nobody
100%.
knows. Bjork is not just an Icelandic singer. It's how to launder money.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, to be clear, I'm not holding him up as the bastion of who I want to model myself after as some role model, but I do think he's done a good job.
I mean, he's done a great job being the Marty Bird of college football.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think that's fair. So at six, I've got excuse me, Oregon AD Rob Mullins.
Okay.
I figured like programs are really strong. Again, I wish the football program would be a little more tough. Done a good job, getting Dana Altman to help the men's basketball program. Obviously, having a Sabrina Ionescu on the women's side of things, that's been
Mhm.
good. Obviously, track's good. Have maintaining a good relationship with Phil Knight. Having to basically have your programs recruit all over the country. Been the committee chair for the playoff.
Yeah.
Rob Mullins has had a lot of up and down. I think navigating a change from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. I just feel like he's earned a lot of equity in my opinion. That's why I have him up here.
I have Ross Mullins very high, so
Rob
we'll get
Mullins,
there in a
yeah, 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 yeah.
minute.
Okay. So who do you have at six?
At six, I have Graham Neff, who is the AD at Clemson and took over relatively recently. And I don't like, we talk about, Dabo Sweeney kind of changing his stripes a little bit. I think Graham Neff might deserve a little bit of credit in that. Like, the Clemson football program specifically was so resistant to the changes in the sport. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Neff took over in the past few years. And now we're seeing that change. Like now we're seeing Clemson dabble in the transfer portal. Now we're seeing Clemson have a little bit more investment in the basketball program than they've had before. Clemson's baseball team was again, I believe they hosted a regional. Didn't make it out of the regional, but they hosted a regional. Like Clemson athletics are in a much healthier spot, I think, than they were just like a couple years ago. And I think that's a real testament to Neff and what he's been able to do.
That's probably a mistake on my part. I don't have him on here. I'm like, who the hell replaced Radikovich? And it's him. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's definitely one of my first. He's like 19. Okay, let's
Yeah,
whatever. Again,
100%.
that's fine. Like there's a lot of people here. So moving into the top five, Texas AD Crystal Conte. That's who I've got at five.
Nice. I have him much higher as well.
Yeah, I just think that he's just a big swing guy. That's
He
basically the
really
best.
is.
He kind of brings a very interesting perspective into the SEC meetings, having been in the Big 12. And I always thought Texas was like, oh, they're going to come in here and wine and cheese it. I'm like, no, I think that they want to just compete on a bigger stage. And I think that he brings a lot of very interesting points there that I think influence a lot of people in the room in the SEC. He's like, okay, 9 games, not that bad. Neutral sites, that's cool. We schedule a lot of other interesting stuff. Programs are always really good. I just think he's phenomenal what he does.
No, I agreed completely, which you'll see soon in my rankings.
Who is five for you?
So, despite my criticism of Alabama's football team, I have Greg Byrne at number five.
Yeah.
And like, he's just done a good, like, you lost the greatest college football coach of all time and you replaced him with a guy who just played in the national championship the year prior. Hell yeah, brother. Like, that's, I mean, like, that's one way to do it. Like, it might not work out, but like, just from the, 30,000 foot view of what you did to replace Nick Saban, getting Kalen DeBoer is a hell of a move to be able to do that, and probably one of the best moves you could be able to do. Frankly, like I know he whiffed on some, like I'm pretty sure they wanted Dan Lanning and weren't able to lure him away. So like, yeah, sure, you missed on your top target, but you're also still trying to replace Nick Saban, and you did a damn good job of that. The basketball team is obviously humming in a big way. The baseball team is part of the SEC conglomerate that is just playing good baseball. Like Alabama is in a really good spot, and like I think that even if I sour on the football program, even if I sour on Kalen DeBoer, I still think the floor is incredibly high, and I think a lot of that has to do with Greg Burns' direction from the top.
I've got him much higher, but
Hell
yes,
yeah, love
very
it.
very high on Greg Byrne. Number four, that's where I got Josh Brooks. So I don't have
Okay,
to
nice.
just then we can just move on to your four because
Yeah. So P4, that's where I have Pete Bavakwa, golly. But Pete Bavakwa at Notre Dame. And like your points are well taken, and like I understand that he did inherit a good situation from Jack Swarbrick, but at the same time, I didn't see Jack Swarbrick going and getting Riley Leonard in the transfer
no,
portal. I didn't see Notre Dame playing for national championships under Jack Swarbrick. And I do think that Pete Vivacqua has like a really good finger on the pulse of what it takes to be successful at Notre Dame and across multiple sports as well. And like I think that is a very unique skill set, but I think it's one that he is ideally suited for. Like there are a lot of people, frankly, a lot of ADs on this list who I think would fail at the job of being the athletic director of Notre Dame. And I think he's done a phenomenal job. And like, I have no real complaints over what I've seen thus far.
me neither. So that's why I have him on the list too.
Yeah.
At number three, I hope you have this person on here. It'd be amazing. Number three, I've got Iowa State 80, Jimmy Pollard. Jimmy Pollard is
Mm.
phenomenal. Jimmy
I,
Pollard's so good.
that's who I have in kind of in that 12-13 range. Like I do think he's very good. I probably should have had him higher. Like that's probably an oversight on my part.
The one thing that I always think about this, excuse me, is Iowa State doesn't have a baseball team.
Right.
So I think that like there's programs like Wisconsin, Colorado. I'm trying to think who else of like Power Four doesn't have one. Like
Yeah.
that's something I consider too. But like football programs never been this good. Basketball programs, tremendous.
Yeah.
Not that great of resources, but just like the rapport he has with Matt Campbell is second to none. So that's why I've got him at three. Who's at three for you?
So at three for me, and I would almost be sure that you do not have him on your list, but Danny White at Tennessee.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you good? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both high on Danny White. Good, good. I mean, I like. There's a lot I really like about Danny White. Like when Josh Heupel was brought in, like I've talked about this before, but like the narrative seemed to be that like he was kind of a placeholder. Like he didn't seem to be, and like Danny White had the balls to look at it and be like, this might be sustainable. This might be something that we can keep riding with. And so far, it's worked out pretty damn well for Tennessee football. You look at Bruce Pearl and the basketball team, man. Or sorry, no, Rick Barnes and the basketball team. I
Yeah.
apologize.
That's
Forgive me.
fine.
Bruce Pearl yesteryear. Rick Barnes and the basketball team, like hell yeah, man. You got one of the best college football or college basketball coaches in the modern era, and you brought him into Tennessee, and you've had Tennessee as basically a perennial Sweet 16 team, not just a perennial tournament team, but perennial Sweet 16 team. And the baseball team, they won a national championship last year. Shouts to Arkansas, Tennessee just got eliminated last night. But like Tennessee is humming in a big way, and I think Danny White has a lot more like gumption than previous Tennessee ADs that we've seen, and I think we're seeing the benefits of that.
Yeah, so here's so 2 and 1. Two is for me is Greg Byrne. Number one is Denny White. That's what I've
Hell
got.
yeah, hell yeah.
I just think that they've come in here like with Byrne. I'm like, okay, you got to replace Nick Saban. You go out there, you hire the best guy. You think you can do it at Kalen Port. You get Nate Oates. That's the best
Mhm.
like phenomenal hire there. Obviously, Danny White having the stones to go from UCF to bring Josh Heupel to replace the madness that was Phil Fulmer and Jeremy Pruitt.
Jeremy Pruitt, yeah.
Rick Barnes has been an institution, obviously about the Lady Vols, what their brand is all about, and then obviously with the baseball program, didn't quite make it back to Omaha, but won the national title a year ago. So that's
Yeah.
what I got with one and two. So who do you got? Who do you got at the top list for you? Two and
So
one.
so at two, I have Chris Del Conte at Texas, and at one, I have Rob Mullins at Oregon.
Okay.
And for the reason that, so I'll start with Del Conte, and I'll get to my why I have Mullins as high as I do. With Del Conte, a lot of what you said, like I think that speaking of balls, like it takes a lot of balls to join a new conference and then walk in like you have, the most say in the conference. And that's kind of what he's done, but not in a disrespectful way. Like you mentioned it. He's coming in there with fresh ideas, a fresh perspective on all of this, but also like with an air of being up for the challenge. Like he's not like taking any of this lightly. He's getting Texas ready to compete at this level. The investment that they have at every sport, every major sport and every level is incredible. The baseball team was the number 2 overall seed going in the tournament. Obviously lost in the regional, but that, it happens. It's a baseball tournament.
Yeah.
S gets weird sometimes.
Yeah.
And but I mean like the basketball program's still in a great like still like in a fine spot, probably going to get better after some coaching changes. But like I do think that and then you look at Steve Sarkisian, like just giving Steve Sarkisian the keys and being like, hey man, anything you need, you're gonna get it, and they've gotten it. And like I think Crystal Conti's been really great for Texas. Rob Mullins, what it really comes down to me is you look at the success across the board that Oregon's having in sports, and yes, a lot of that comes, you have the Phil Knight money. That's a big advantage that you have in your, to have that checkbook at your disposal. But at the same time, he also has identified, like, let's not discount the fact that Oregon is the one that hired Dan Lanning. And,
Right.
and Dan Lanning has been this good. Rob Mullins is the one who also retained Dan Lanning when Alabama came calling. Like, you
Mhm.
can't discount what that means. You have a coach, another institution in Dana Altman with the basketball program. The baseball program made the tournament as well, hosted a regional. Like, Oregon is in a tremendous spot. And I think, like, ubiquitously across the board, across all sports, I don't think Oregon's ever been in this good of a spot.
No, they're not the Webfoots anymore. They're the Oregon
Yeah,
Ducks, and this is false start.
correct.
I don't know if we have time to recap all of it, but we gotta move on here with some suck it
That's
from Jenny,
right.
from Jenny MacArthur with some good bull here. So maybe you set the stage for what happened, and then we'll just try to not drive this thing in the ditch anymore. So go.
Okay, so I got an email. I don't even remember. It was sometime last week, Thursday or Friday of last week, and it was put together. I believe it was PodSpot. I believe is the name of the website, if I'm not mistaken, or FeedSpot, one of the two. And they put together a list of the top 100 college football podcasts, and your boys are number 27 on the list, baby. That's why this category is suck it, because y'all like we love the starters. The starters don't have to suck it, but anyone who doubted us, the start boys,
No,
we're out here, man.
start us up. So to celebrate, since we've been doing this show, so like week 0 of 2023, we'll just go back and forth. And I'll just write it down so we don't overlap it or anything like that. But like our 27 favorite people we've covered. I'm gonna start from the top. We're gonna go with the live dog Diego Pavia.
Yeah,
So loved covering Diego Pavia.
I mean, basically the mascot of this here program right here. I've got to go number 2, which is the King of the Ribs, Sam Pittman, man. Like
Yes.
one of my favorite bits that we've ever come up with.
Yes, sir. And at that bit, I think like the guy that's become number one with everything Gus Mel's on. Just
Oh
in
yeah.
just yeah. Just let's break it down, boys.
And then I've got to go with our fellow Homer Hickam alum, Kenny Dillingham. We love Kenny D on
Yes.
this program, and like it fits our narrative that Arizona State is now one of the one of the favorites in the Big 12.
And on that note, another guy who is down in the mines, Kenny Dillingham's greatest player, gotta go with Cam Scatabo.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely got to do it.
All right, that's five. We got
I
six.
mean, we've got to go with the meat sleeves himself, Bib Poggi, brother. Like,
Yes,
there's no doubt about it. Like, that's the dude who, like, if we had a silhouette in our logo, it would be Bib Poggi.
100%. And nobody has defined a category more than Biff Poggi. Besides Biff Poggi, then I'm crying Cavender with Carson Beck. This we've loved having talking about him on this show.
100%.
Uh,
Another one I'm gonna go with. I feel like he's kind of an underrated addition, and we already talked about him on this show. Kevin Jennings. Like we talked a hell of a lot about Kevin Jennings throughout the 2024 season. Like every conversation somehow led back to Kevin Jennings.
and our first episode ever, we got to go with Cam Black Smoke Rising. Could he
Oh
play or not?
God, yeah.
All right, 10.
Oh,
TIN 10.
speaking of longtime characters, we got to go with everyone's favorite punching bag, Brian Ferentz. Brian Ferentz.
Brian Ferretz. Hell yeah. And on that note, the other side of cornucopia, I think we got to go with Matt Rule.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Nobody sucks the air out of the room quite like Matt Rule.
Not even close, man. I'm gonna go with Matt Rule's quarterback, Dylan Raiola, man. We talked a
Yeah.
hell of a lot about the Patrick Mahomes cosplay.
Definitely, Dylan Raiola. We got to go with a guy who can't play anymore, but a guy that it was the Tiger King. Let's go with some Jordan Travis here.
Oh, good one, good one. I'm gonna go with a really new addition, but someone who I've certainly pissed and moaned about. Jordan Hudson is gonna be my latest addition to this.
And to make it slightly better, just palate cleanse that. Let's go with some Lenore Sellers there.
Oh God, yeah, we got to go with Lenore Sellers. Speaking of just painfully on brand, Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers
Yeah.
always painfully on brand with for me. Future Miami Dolphins starting quarterback.
He's out there. I think we got to go with the most fun player in college football right now. We got to go with Jeremiah Smith.
That's a good call. That's a good call. Someone who I exhausted a lot of negative oxygen with, Bo Nix. Maybe
Bo
you've heard of
Chapman
him.
Diggs. And a guy that we put in the slot, and he's my quarterback. Now let's go with Michael Penix Jr.
Love that. Love that. You mentioned Bo Chapman, Nix, and that reminded me of another middle name guy, Jaden Zach Ott. We love Jaden
Yes.
Zach
Jaden Zach. Yes. Maybe not so much of a popular character this past season, but the year prior to that, we got to go with our boy Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh yeah, gotta go Eli. I mean, we mentioned him a hell of a lot a couple years ago. Jim Harbaugh, obviously.
Yes.
Like I can't believe it's taken this long to mention Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh, 100%. So we got 22. We're feeling 22. We got to be more methodical here. I'm starting to like try to stop and try to figure out we got to get the right people here for the last like
Mm.
five or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ashton Genty. I feel we'd be doing him a disservice if we don't have him on here.
That's a good call. We gotta have Ashton Genty on there. Um, I'm gonna go with. I think we gotta go Shane Beamer. Like
Yeah,
we love some Beamer ball, and we've definitely over the past year really sung his praises.
100%. Definitely some Shane Beamer. I think we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't have the square peg goes in the round hole, Mario Cristobal. We got to
Oh
talk
God,
about.
yeah. The fact that we waited till like what, this is the 25th entry in this and
Yeah,
we just put Mario in here. Yeah, that's our bad. Oh, the king of the burner phone, baby. Hugh Freeze.
Hugh
What are we
Freeze. All
doing?
right, we got one more. We gotta make sure that we don't empty the chamber. We gotta make sure we gotta make this one count. So who would have? Oh, the driver. We got to go with the
Oh
driver, James.
yeah, the driving school. What are we doing?
So, congratulations to being part of the 27 most fascinating people we've covered. Diego Pavia, Sam Pittman, Gus Malzahn, Kenny Dillingham, Cam Scatabo, Biff Poggi, Carson Beck, Kevin Jennings, Cam Black Smoke Rising, Brian Ferentz, Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola, Jordan Travis, Jordan Hudson, Lenore Sellers, Quinn Ewers, Jeremiah Smith, Bo Chapman Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Zackott, Eli Drinkwitz, Jim Harbaugh, Ashton Jinty, Shane Beamer, Mario Cristobal, Hugh Freeze, and James Franklin. Let's go.
Nightmare blunt rotation, bro.
That was a lot better than I thought it was. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
even. I'm gonna do that segment like rapid fire or something. We gotta rebrand this at some point. That was great.
100%.
But afterwards, I just gotta say one thing. Forever unclean. Let's do some local scouting report for Rexit. So, Cody came to Atlanta for a semi-bachelor party. Weren't able to connect because life happens. Then he went back to North Carolina. Now you're back in Santa Fe. So we haven't done this in a while, and I want to see like if you can confirm your former stomping grounds is still insane as it is now for me.
Brother, Atlanta is always going to be Atlanta, and that's really the beautiful thing about it. So one of the things that happened to me in Atlanta was I went to all three Braves Red Sox games. Shouts to the Red
Okay.
Sox for winning the series. But I one of the things I like to do when I go to a baseball game is identify like the most interesting jerseys. And like I think one of the things that makes Atlanta Atlanta is Atlantans or Atlanteans or however you would say that they're deep in Atlanta culture, and I can't describe to you how many Dale Murphy jerseys I saw. Like probably the most popular jersey that I saw that of like not a current player. Like you would think it would be Chipper Jones, you would think it'd be a Greg Maddux, you would think it would be like one of like the like more modern legends. Nah, it was Dale Murphy. I saw legitimately like dozens and dozens of Dale Murphy jerseys. What a wild it blew my mind a little bit, but it's also like perfectly indicative of what Atlanta is.
He was the best player. It was him and Phil Niekro were like the only players that were any good from like post PK
Right.
and on in the 80s.
But it was like people like if you were like an older gentleman wearing a Del Murphy jersey, like I would get that. It was like people our age, like guys who should be wearing the chipper jerseys, guys who should be wearing the Maddox jersey.
And I'll say this. We got to put people like DL Murphy in the Hall of Fame, Don Mattingly, Lou Whitaker. Like, we got to just stop being stupid. Like, these people,
Yes.
Mattingly and Murphy didn't win diddly squat, and Lou Whitaker obviously won a World Series. But like, come on, this is not that hard.
Right. We gotta be better.
We got to be better here. So that's good. So the other day, we're at a local watering hole. We see the Arizona State podcast, and I see this lady pull into the parking lot. There's probably about 8 or 10 spaces, and she looks kind of sickly. Walks across the road to CVS. I'm like, okay, there's a whole parking lot over there at CVS. I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? Then she drives away and she comes back, and I realize on her car, she did like a 18-point turn out of this parking lot. She was Ubering for somebody, and it's
Oh
unbelievable.
my God.
This poor girl is sitting in the back with her phone. The lady literally goes into this establishment that's mostly known for serving cocktails, comes out there with food, and it's just like this is the most awkward exchange of all time.
Love that. So Uber drivers are the unsung heroes of America because I can't imagine half of the stuff they have to deal
Uh,
with, man.
all right, you got anything else? I got two more things.
I got two quick hitters. Like I don't have a whole lot with these. One was also at the Braves game. Go into use the restroom in between innings, and one of the urinals in the bathroom I go into wasn't working. It was not flushing, and I watched three people use this urinal that wasn't flushing,
Yeah.
and like watching, and I'm just like, you're about to create a real problem. And like there's one of like the workers there like standing there like trying to monitor the line, and I'm like, brother, can we not tell people to go in this, because I don't want to be standing in a floor of piss. Like that's not what I want with what's about to happen here. And but regardless, avoided the piss, went to a different bathroom the next time I had to go, so we were fine. Totally forgot what the other one was, so you go ahead while I try to think of it.
We'll get that here, but yeah, using a broken urinal is very Atlanta. You do that at Hartsfield Jackson too.
Oh, 100%.
All right, so while you're at the Braves game, we're dog sitting about 5 minutes away from you over in the Cumberland area, and this
Yes, sir.
dog we're sitting for is like 11-year-old Cocker Spaniel, who would love to bark at 3 a.m. for food because she was hungry and senile. But
Mhm.
apparently, to get her to stop, you either feed her or you put a leash on, and just goes back to sleep. The problem that was the thing that you're gonna love is the dog's face is the exact same as Scott Rogus, and it was just like I was not ready for this. It's like if Scott was just like barking about food at 3 a.m. and it was
Oh
just
my God.
it's like a female dog, but like just the same like look. It's
Yeah.
like
Oh
Anwar
God.
Sadat. It's like Scott Rogus. I'm like, I can't take this dog seriously.
Because he looks exactly like Anwar Sadat.
All right. Do you remember yours yet?
I got it. It was literally the first thing that happened when I got into Atlanta, which I fly into the airport and I'm getting the Uber to my buddy's house. And uh the Uber says has like a nice picture of a car, a gentleman wearing a suit. He pulls up. That car is no longer nice. One of the doors has been replaced by a door that does not belong on that car. The gentleman is wearing gym shorts and a t-shirt and does looks like it's the same guy. Like I'm not in danger here, but like he looks nothing like the picture that I'm seeing. And then I have a 50-minute drive from Hartsfield Jackson to Marietta to get to my buddy's house, and listen to just the trashiest trap rap for 50 minutes that you could possibly imagine. And I'm just sitting in the back seat like, welcome back. This is the ATL shoddy. Like, we're here.
You're just like, just leave me at the big chicken to die,
Right,
please.
100%. That's what we need.
50 minutes from Hartsfield to Marietta. That's like
I mean, I
25.
landed at 5 p.m., so like that
Oh,
was that was natural. Yeah.
that's fair. This is what you signed up for. All right. So this is what I got from yesterday. So we're at the same establishment, the same parking lot, because life is cyclical. We see something that I would describe as rising juniors at either Georgia Tech or Emory get denied.
Ooh.
I'm not going to say like what establishment it is, but like there was about a dozen of them in the parking lot, and they were sitting on somebody's car that clearly worked there, which is so disrespectful.
Hmm.
Then one of their moms shows up in like a Land Rover or a giant like a Land Cruiser, and then 8 of them pile in this car, and then 4 of them didn't have anything to go. Then they get on like a Google like shuttle bus later, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, if yeah, I would not be a proud parent like helping condone underage drinking. It's just like
No.
seeing it happen in real time, and I'm like, gosh, and I go up to the Arizona State podcast, and I'm like, what's sad? Like all of the kids' parents like saw 9/11 happen, and they said, you know what, let's procreate right now.
Oh yeah, let's get after it. I gotta tell you, that's the most Emery coded thing I've ever heard. So like,
Yeah,
love Emery, but that's the most Emery coded thing I've ever heard.
just the King Broccolis were just they were thriving.
100%.
And all I can say to end the show is let's go with some To the Cloud,
That's
Taco
good.
MacArthur. Maybe after we finish doing some jail in here, maybe we'll just say some favorite things from the league because we haven't talked about it a lot today.
100%.
I know we're going a little long, but who cares? We
It's
haven't
all
blown the
good,
show
baby.
by. So we got our 6 songs, basically the songs that Taco MacArthur played. A few of them we can't do. One about Pete, we can't do that one.
No, no. The selection process here was more about what we can and can't say. So-
Yes, but we can say I'm inside me. Who's inside themselves?
That's Mario Cristobal, brother. Mario Cristobal's inside himself. Mario Cristobal is at war with himself. There are two wolves inside Mario Cristobal. They are both Mario Cristobal, and they are both like just terrible game managers.
Uh, that's pretty good. I don't have Mario on here, but I've got for my two, I've got Dave Aranda. The man's got too much Zen. He's inside his brain.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And then the guy that I could see basically having his own trophy and impale himself on the floor, that's James Franklin.
Oh, 100%.
Who's hanging out with the ghost monkey?
Hanging out with the ghost monkey. I mean, it's Steve Sarkisian, brother. For Jeff Banks reasons, he's hanging out with the ghost monkey.
I had Jeff Banks.
Yeah.
And because I knew that was the most obvious answer, the other one I had was way back to one of our first episodes. We were talking about the Tiger King and the monkey. And
Yeah.
Nebraska legend, Mike Rozier, that monkey will bite you in the face.
Love it. Love it.
Uh, Mike Rozier, just a legend, just one of one humans of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and who is Yobagoya? Yobagoya, yo Yobagoya.
Uh, I can see Eli really getting after some Yoba Goya. Like, and just not caring about the consequences of Yoba Goya, which the league details very, very much so in the Garden. And like, but I can just see Drink just absolutely chowing down. Like after a nice win in Como, just going and getting some Yoba Goya.
On that note, I've got Tennessee football. I think that this is what Josh Heupel's gains 100 pounds, just eating cheapest bucket of beef in Knoxville, going outside like Kevin MacArthur on the side of the road,
Oh
and
yeah.
obviously for the cheapest bucket of beef in in Illinois, that's Brett Bielema.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Who is staying at the EBDB B&B?
Carson Beck, next question.
I was not ready for that. Wow. Jimbo Fisher
Yeah, yeah.
and the guy who calls up escorts Euphrates.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
They've definitely slapped hands on between bedrooms there.
100%.
Of course, sit back next. The birthday song.
I like to imagine Kirk Ferentz singing this to Brian.
God, yeah. Um, it's the first one. It's two. It's the tandem we all wanted. It's not Simon and Garfunkel. It's not Hall and Oates. It's Banderas and Palmer.
That's right.
It's a birthday.
It's a birthday.
And the guy that would actually sing the song and power through the awkwardness in someone's cookout backyard party, that's Jim Harbaugh. He'd sing this shirtless.
Oh, 100%. And he would not break character once. Like he'd just be stone faced the entire time.
No. And we're gonna end with the rap Eskimo Brothers.
Eskimo Brothers, indeed. I went with Ryan Day because he doesn't care who his Eskimo Brothers with in the transfer portal. He's just going to get it done, man.
Hell yeah. So I figured I did like Who are the two people that would most likely be Eskimo brothers with Taco MacArthur?
Love that.
Number one's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Jay Freshwater. That's Eskimo brother.
Honestly, I can answer Lane Kiffin for most of these, if we're being honest. Like,
Well, the fact he wasn't,
who would have a trophy that would they would impale themselves on? Lane Kiffin, for sure.
and then shaking babies and kissing hands. That's Joe McGuire.
100%.
Ah, this was episode 182 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter, the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle 20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. I want you to hit that subscribe button like um JB Smoove got hit by that piano in the league.
You got to take his shoes. You got to take his shoes, man.
And I want you to smash that subscribe button
like you're at the EBDBB, brother.
I was gonna say like the paint cans that explode in the beautiful shade of cinnamon, but so the league, yeah. Just typoing it with this. I love this show. It came out when we were in college and everything like that. My favorite thing about the league was like just a great premise. Went like on for 8 years.
Yeah.
The episodes just got more and more deranged. Everything like paid off in the end. It was just absolute comedic genius. I loved it.
No, 100%. Like, there's so many like random like one-offs too that just absolutely kill me. Like, not necessarily a one-off because he shows up multiple times, but like Jeff Goldblum as Russell as Ruxin's dad absolutely just kills me. Like, and then Russell, like whenever he starts
Yeah.
trying to open up the winery and all of his addictions, like incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Dirty
Um,
Randy,
oh my,
obviously we got.
we got to talk. Obviously, Adam Brody playing Ted Rappaport.
Oh my God, yes.
I can't believe you're friends with these people.
And then Kevin takes the AIDS cocktail.
Chalk satin gum.
Oh my God. Yeah. I sat and go.
Heather Nosich is Sarah Silverman.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Frank the Body Gibbiotti is Ike Barinholtz.
Yeah. And
Donnie the Seed Sadowski.
who's Gibbiotti's sister that Pete like dates sort of for like a little bit?
I think that's Brooklyn Decker.
That's right. Yeah.
So I guess to tie a bow on this, we're gonna ask like favorite cameo of like a football player like in the show.
I mean, the Marshawn Lynch one is really hard to top because it was right after the Super Bowl where they didn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch and they immediately parodied it.
I think JJ Watt was phenomenal.
JJ Watt, especially for someone who like, I'm not like anti JJ Watt, but you kind of take or leave JJ Watt as a personality. I was shocked at how funny JJ Watt was in that show.
Yeah, I just thought he was like going to be John Cena out there, and he was just
Right.
taking all the room service. The best thing about this show is Dirty Randy and Rafi, without question.
There's no question.
The third to final episode where it's just a cartoon and they gotta go down to San Juan, Puerto Rico.
It feels like there was like one, especially like in the later years, there was always one episode that was like very Rafi and or Dirty Randy centric, and like it felt like the writers and like the rest of the cast were like, "Hey, we need a week off," and Jason Mantzoukas and Seth Rogen were like, "We got it, don't worry."
I would download whatever app that existed if there was like a series or a 5-season series about Dirty Randy and Rafi. Just
100%.
It's the best thing
That's
ever.
the revival we need.
Dirty Randy and Rafi. I'm Raphael. And then like basically the whole reason they met each other is because Dirty Clean Randall.
Clean Randall.
Shot the cork off a champagne bottle, hits Nathan Fielder in the face off a skyscraper and falls on top of Rafi's family while he's getting ice cream.
It's such a ridiculous show. It's so good.
And then also Stevie Janowski's in there in the mental institution with them about sandwiches. And then he like works he ends up working at like a mortician's office.
who was the player that did the cameo where they like made him set Ruxin's lineup for that one game? Because that's one of my favorite player bits as well. Is like he's talking about how much he loves him. Is it like Josh Cribbs?
Yes, Josh Cribbs.
Yeah, like that, like underrated one where it's just like, oh no, we gotta, we love the special teams guys. We gotta have a kicker in here.
Josh Cribbs, Antonio Gates, Ryan
Oh,
Fitzpatrick.
the Antonio Gates stuff is so good.
But that's like I remember like watching this show like after living in Chicago for 3 years. So many sports fans. It's Kevin McCarthy. It's just smothering nonsense, and it's like no wonder the team doesn't win anything. We will kidnap you. I'll take care of it.
I mean, as a person who is me, Taco is one of my favorite, like just TV characters of all time. Just the most ridiculous human being in the entire world. The idea of the guest bong is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Oh my God. Ginny Banger. I'm sorry. That was almost bad.
Mr. McGiblets, we're good.
Selfish. This I did get a Mr. McGiblets costume in college, and I wore it out for Halloween, and
Hell
it
yeah.
just reeked of Coors Light.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the regular Mr. McGiblets costume also reeked of several things.
Oh my God. But yeah. Dr. Andre Nozick with the Kluenberg painting.
Oh my God. It's Goomba.
It's a Kluenberg. I gotta figure out how to end this show. I gotta think of a bit. Just rant for a minute.
100%. I'm not going to go into too many details, but also Dr. Andre Nozick's love life is an adventure to say the least, particularly in the later seasons with some of his toxic tendencies, let's say.
I mean, he dated Shiva.
That's right.
Shiva Kamini Summa Kandakram. This is false start.